Hello and welcome to another Sacred Mountain Battle Report. Today I'm going to be going over a 3,000 point net epic Armageddon bat rep of Ultramarines versus Titan Legions. This is a departure from my normal battle reports since I'll be using primarily photos. I did this to spare the viewer poor camera work and hasty narration as I'm still learning the game. First I'll go over the battlefield, then the armies, then the deployment. I'll go over the game activation by activation for each unit, and then give an overview at the end of each turn. Enjoy! Tournament games of Epic Armageddon can be as short as 3 turns or up to 5 or 6 turns. But starting at the end of turn 3, players see if they have scored 2 of 5 goals, and if they have scored those 2 goals, or any 2 goals, they win. Of these 5 goals, 3 of them are based on objectives that are set up by the players. Those 3 goals are Blitzkrieg, control your opponent's table home objective, defend the flag, control all 3 objectives on your own table half, and take and hold, control any 2 objectives on your opponent's table half. The player with the highest strategy rating sets up first, Ultras in this case. Then players alternate until all 6 objectives are set up. The first pair of objectives are called the Blitzkrieg objectives, and they're on your home table edge. Then you alternate setting up objectives on the opponent's table half, making sure to keep them 30 centimeters away from each other. For the Ultramarines, I have 2 tactical formations of 6 stands of tactical infantry and 3 rhinos. Each formation has a leader, a librarian and chaplain, but that's mainly just cosmetic. Then I have 2 Predator formations of 4 tanks each, 1 Whirlwind formation of 4 tanks, a Devastator formation of 4 stands with 4 Razorbacks armed with las cannons, but these were hijacked from the Word Bearers, 1 Thunderhawk gunship, 1 formation of 2 Imperial Navy Thunderbolt fighter bombers, and finally 1 formation of 4 Terminators and 4 Land Raiders. This is worth 725 points, and this will serve as the Break the Spirit goal. And you achieve this goal by destroying or not breaking the formation worth the most points in the opposing player's army for end of round winning. Next up are the Titan Legions. First, I've chosen 2 formations of Skitarii Demi-Centuries that each include 8 stands of Hypaspis and 2 stands of Secutors. Then a Warhound Titan battle group of 2 Warhounds, followed by a Reaver Titan, and finally, my favorite model in my entire collection, an appropriately scaled, in my opinion, Imperator class Battle Titan. This will serve as the unfortunate Break Their Spirit goal for the Ultramarines at 1,400 points. Moving on to deployment, you can see on the Ultramarines, which is the lower part of your screen, are deployed kind of in a forked pattern where you have the Land Raiders and a group of Predator Destructors on the left, and then the rest of their army on the right. And in the upper part of the screen, you can see also kind of a spread out Demisentries on each flank, the Imperator in the upper left, the Reaver walking directly down the road, and the Warhounds off to the flank. Now, like I mentioned previously, at the end of turn 3, you start to check to see if you've accomplished 2 of those 5 goals. And I went over those. 3 of them are objective-based, Blitzkrieg, defend the flag, and take and hold. And then 1 is based on whether or not you kill the biggest, baddest, most expensive unit, which is Break Their Spirit. And then the final one is They Shall Not Pass. And you achieve this goal if there are no unbroken enemy formations on your half of the table. Finally get to start turn 1 with the strategy phase, where players roll off and add their strategy rating to see who activates first, and Ultramarines win the roll off with 10 versus 8. So Ultramarines will activate first. To activate a formation, you simply roll versus the formation's initiative, and Ultramarines have a initiative value of 1, so they can't fail. They will definitely activate the first time, and you state aloud what order you're going to give them. In this case, a double. And a double allows you to move twice and then shoot, but shooting at a -1. In this case, the tactical squad deployed in ruins in that construction site and shot their missile launchers about 45 centimeter range into the Skitarii Demisentry squad with a -1, needing 6s to hit, using their anti-personnel profile. The hits are then allocated stand by stand, closest first, until everybody has at least one hit, and then you can recycle and start stacking the hits. Then those stands make saves. In this case, the Demisentry saves on a 5, and they make it. So the Skitarii suffer no casualties, but they do get a blast marker due to being taken under fire. The Ultramarines decide to try to retain initiative, so they would need a 1-up -1, so they would need a 2-up, and the Terminators and Land Raiders have decided on a double movement, and they're going to blast forward and see if they can plink off some void shields off that Imperator Titan. Again, due to that double movement, they have a -1 to hit, and so they needed 5s on their anti-tank profile of their assault cannons. I'm sorry, 6s, and the the Land Raiders needed 5s for their las cannons. The Imperator does receive a blast marker, and every hit causes at least one void shield to go down. So the Emperor goes from 8 void shields down to 3. Next, the Demisentry on the left flank next to the Imperator tries to activate, and they do, barely, with a 2, and they fire into the Terminators there, hitting once. The Terminators failed their first save, but passed their second because they have reinforced armor. Nevertheless, the Terminators will receive a blast marker. Next, the Predators on the right flank of the Ultramarines take a march order, and they go hide and lay an ambush for the Warhounds and the Skitarii Demisentry that hopefully will be coming over that mountain. When performing a march order, you get to move 3 times, but no shooting. So in reality, probably a double would have worked, and they could have shot because they had the ability to move 90 centimeters there, but probably only moved about 65. The Ultramarine Devastator formation attempts to retain initiative and to move at double time and shoot, but the Taint of Chaos must have remained on those Razorbacks from the word bearers, and they fail, so they have to take a hold action, and they get a blast marker. With a hold action, you can move or initiative passes to the Titan Legions, and the Warhounds activate with a double. They do that successfully, and they move once, and then a second time, but get into dangerous terrain and fail the dangerous terrain, but get to reroll it due to reinforced armor, and then just unloose a torrent of fire into the Devastators. Thankfully for the Ultramarines, the rolls were terrible. Those macro weapons hit on 2s, and because the Marines inside did not disembark, they get no saves. Fortunately, only one was killed. I should say one Razorback was killed, but unfortunately the squad of Devastators were also killed inside with no saves of any kind allowed as a result. Now those macro weapons are slow firing, and so all next turn they will be reloading, as denoted by that dice that says reload. Well, that was my first experience with a macro weapon, and that scared the Devastators, or the Predators here. So they took a double, and they're going to try to avoid as best they can that Imperator. It can shoot across the board, but they took a double, and they're going to fire anti-personnel into the Skitarii Demisentry. The Predators unloaded with both their autocannons and their heavy bolters, autocannons in aqua, heavy bolters in blue, and they have a -1 to hit, denoted by that dice due to the double movement. Made several successful hits and ultimately several saves, but 3 of the Skitarii were killed, and an additional blast marker was also added because they were taken under fire. Opting to retain again, the Ultramarines advanced the tactical squads, tactical formation, into that Amazon distribution center where they shot their missile launchers into the Warhounds. Unfortunately, was able only to hit once, taking a single void shield off the near Warhound. The Demisentry on the right flank opted for a march, order. Even though they had a blast marker, they were able to pass to get into ruins flanking that Reaver, because they know that bomber and the fighter bombers are still yet to activate. The Ultramarine Whirlwinds opted to take a sustained fire action and not move, and they're going to use indirect fire, and that would double their range to fire at those Skitarii demisentry that took refuge in the building, hitting all of them. So they'll get to roll dice for each one of them, but it's a +1 for sustained fire and a -1 for cover, so it should be a wash. But I made a oopsie and said that they had to hit on 5s or higher. So unfortunately, only 2 hits and 1 save. The big dog's about to get into the fight with the Reaver advancing, and is going to open fire into the Terminators and Land Raiders. Hits several times, destroys a Land Raider, and adds a blast marker. Sorry, 2 blast markers. The Imperial Navy activates with an advance move. They did that successfully. Now, when aircraft come in, they make a approach move and then stop, and then they fire from that position, and then they can make 45, 90, depending on the type of 90-degree turn, 45-degree turn, depending on the type of aircraft it is, whether it's a fighter bomber, or a bomber, and then make their departure move. Anytime during the approach or departure move, they can be interrupted, and if they are in range, any anti-air flak that the enemy has can shoot at them, and it's a free move. It's a free shot, whether or not that particular war engine in this case, has shot. And so I am deathly concerned about the Imperator Titan because it has macro weapon anti-air. So the Thunderbolts have to stay away from it. And here's some terrible shooting from the Imperial Navy Thunderbolts. With their underwing missiles and something else, maybe a heavy bolter or some assault cannon, I don't know what it was. Whatever it is, they missed, and all they got is a blast marker. Then they make their 90-degree turn, and then their departure move. Unsurprisingly, the Imperator Titan is next to activate, and it takes a sustained fire activation, meaning it's going to get a +1 and it will not move. This thing is festooned with weapons. It's going to take its 4 battle cannons, its Defense Laser and Hellstorm cannon, and going to put all that into the Terminators to its front. And first to fire is the Hellstorm cannon with its 10 barrage points. Fortunately, only hitting the infantry on them with a -1 due to them being in cover. They fail their first and then fail their second due to their second reinforced armor reroll. Next is the Defense Laser. That's a macro weapon 2, normally needing 2s or more to hit anti-tank, but 3s in this case. Rolls a 6. The Land Raider does have a save because it has reinforced armor, but it doesn't get a reroll. It needs a 4-up, and of course it pops as well. Finally, the battle cannon shooting at the Terminators using its anti-personnel of 4+, gets 4 shots, 3 go through. They get their reinforced armor saves, but fail several. And so the right flank didn't feel left out of his love. He shoots the Quake cannon at the Tactical Marines in the Amazon Distribution Center, hitting 4 times, and then the Marines failed 3 saves. This, unsurprisingly, results in a broken formation of the Terminators and Land Raiders, and they make an immediate withdrawal move ×2. And the last activation is the Thunderhawk, and those string of dice there is a 90-centimeter line that I'm trying to keep the Thunderhawk away from, because although that anti-air weapon is only 4+, it's a Titan killer, D3, so it could one-shot the Thunderhawk. But unfortunately, I feel that the Thunderhawk, I rolled and the Thunderhawk got a stand down order, but in reality it shouldn't have. Again, another oopsie in the Titan Legion's favor. the Thunderhawk is a Ultramarine formation, not an Imperial Navy, so it activates on a 1+, and the Ultramarines were not performing a not retaining initiative, so it would have come in automatically. Unfortunately, it didn't, and again, you can't change the past. Now we're in the end phase where we rally troops and take off blast markers. You roll against your initiative value, and if you succeed, you get to remove half the blast markers rounding up. And these are the blast marker removals. The modifiers you get for danger close, you get a -1 if there's an enemy within 30 centimeters, and you get a additional -2 if the unit is broken. And you'll see when I get around to the Land Raider unit, they have a -3 to remove blast markers, but fortunately they successfully rallied, rolling a 6, and were able to remove all those blast markers, and now they'll have to hide for the rest of the game. That's the Devastators, and they were able to successfully rally. Here's what the battlefield looked like at the end of turn 1. Starting on the left side, you can see the Predators that have activated and shot into the Demisentry, and it looks like the Demisentry is getting whittled down a little bit there. The Imperator has shot into and broke the Terminators and Land Raiders that were in the refinery there in the middle of the board where the objective is. They broke, had to fall back, and now there's only 2 Land Raiders and a single Terminator there with that D6, and it has that broken token next to it. It's no longer broken, but does have 1 blast marker that's not in the picture. The Reaver advanced up the road, doing a lot of work on those Terminators as well, and adding to the broken nature of them currently. Then the Demisentry in the backfield moved into the ruins to kind of take cover, while the Warhounds went up and just basically sliced right through the center and shot into the poorly located Devastators in the Razorbacks, but rolled so poorly they were able to escape reasonably unscathed. The Whirlwinds shot indirectly into the Skitarii Demisentry, into that ruins in the backfield, and the Ultramarine Tactical Squad moved into the Amazon Distribution Center, what I'm calling it, and shot into the Warhounds, doing very little. The other tactical formation shot into the Demisentry that later moved into the ruins, and the Predators hid like cowards. So that's the end of turn 2. Looks to me like the Ultramarines are already on the rope. And let me remind you, I'm new to this game, and I'm certainly new to list building, and I knew that the Ultramarines were unoptimized going in, but I didn't realize quite how outgunned they were going to be by that Imperator Titan. Certainly, you need some Titan killers in your list, because this is a trifle one-sided. Titan Legions win the strategy roll-off for turn 2, and the score was 7-6, so they'll activate first, and they're going to activate those Warhounds with a double move. The reason they're doing this is so they can take the Terminators under fire and get close to that backfield blitzkrieg objective and really try to split the Space Marine forces. They only got 4 shots with those Vulcan heavy bolters at a -2, and they missed with everything, so the Terminators only received a blast marker. Oh, and the -2 was because I awarded the Terminators cover, or the Land Raiders cover, and they doubled, so they got an additional -1. Next to activate were the Razorbacks and the Devastator formation with an advance, and they advanced into the ruins just to the left of the Amazon Distribution Center, and of course they failed a dangerous terrain test, and one of the Razorbacks blew up, but the Devastators bailed out, and they passed their armor save. The 2 las cannons in Aqua and the 4 missile launchers, since one of those stands was suppressed. Normally you'd have 3 stands suppressed, but because of Space Marine's special rule, and they shall know no fear, it takes 2 to suppress. Regardless, everything missed, but those warhounds did get a blast marker. The Marines retained initiative and activated the Predators on the back left flank in hopes to get behind that Imperator Titan and hopefully break a formation of that Skitarii Demisentry. As my initial plan with the Ultramarines was to take out the softer targets first and try to just ignore the bigger Titans. Now the Predators were flying at full ballistic skill, and they got 4 hits and 3 failed saves on that Skitarii Demisentry. This resulted in them breaking, and they actually moved forward and away from those Predators towards the central objective in front of the Imperator to hopefully rendezvous with the Imperator and gain some cover next to his foot when he would activate later in the turn. Next to activate was the Skitarii Demisentry they'd have a -1 because they have a blast marker, but they just advance into that building so they wouldn't take any of what was likely to be some aircraft incoming to break them. They did take the Marines that were in the Amazon distribution center under fire, so that gave them a blast marker, and they hit twice, and the Ultramarines made 1 save, so they received 2 blast markers total. Next to activate were the Predators with the double, and they moved around to the Blitzkrieg objective of the Titan Legions and took the Skitarii Demisentry under fire. They would have a -1 to hit, actually a -2 to hit, due to the Skitarii Demisentries being in cover and them taking a double. They were able to hit with a single battle cannon and a single heavy bolter, or they almost were able to hit because they needed 7s. They rolled 6s initially, and then the second die roll was Snake Eyes. Now I have this cord out to show you that had those hits gone through, the Demisentry would have received 2 blast markers. Well, they should have received 2 blast markers anyway, but I just gave them 1 blast marker, but they would have had a -1 to their save due to the crossfire bonus from those Devastators on the other end of that cord. Now the Reaver's coming to play with an advanced move. He won't be able to shoot with his macro weapon because it's still reloading, as you can see from that dice, but he will use his 6-shot Gatling gun into the Marines in the Amazon distribution center, shot 6 times, hit 3 times. I'm sorry, he was shooting at the Devastators. The Devastators hit 3 times, and 3 failed saves from the Devastators, and that unfortunately broke those Devastators. They took their withdrawal move to the far side of the battlefield to hopefully hide for the rest of the turn. Finally, the Terminators come to play, and they took an advance. They could have taken a sustained fire, but I wanted to get those Terminators out of the Land Raiders and into a building for a better cover save and maybe a little bit more longevity. The Terminators were suppressed, but the Land Raiders shot with their 4 las cannon shots, 1 hit, and that took out one of the void shields of the Warhounds. Next to activate was the Imperator Titan with an advanced move. He had to commit his firing arcs one way or the other, and so he moved forward and turned left and gingerly touched one base of the Skitarii Demisentry so they would get a bonus of cover. Those green dice are just there to remind me that they're broken, and you can see one of the bases of that secular base is touching his foot. Probably just needed to touch the base, but the rules aren't real clear on that. Now his big nasty weapon is still reloading from the previous turn, but he unloads into the Predators on the Blitzkrieg objective, as well as the Marines in the distribution center. First, the battle cannons, 2 hit, 2 missed. Those are the red dice. The Predators passed one and then failed one, then failed their reroll for reinforced armor. The pink dice are macro weapons, and so no reinforced armor, and got a failed save on that far Predator. Next come the barrage weapons into the Amazon distribution working Ultramarines, and it's actually two barrage weapons. One has 10 barrage points, one has one. Ended up 5 shots and 4 shots, all needing, I believe, fives to hit. Several blast markers were handed out, and I believe there were three hits, one failed save, looks like. Regardless, they broke and retreated with only a single stand of tactical marines and a rhino also hiding for the remainder of the turn. Trying to chip away more at the Skitarii, the whirlwinds activated and took the far Skitarii demisentry under fire with indirect fire. That's 4 barrage points. That'll give them an extra template and a blast marker coming in to that broken formation. Now, since they're next to the Titan, that does overlap the Titan. Doesn't matter because I'm shooting at the anti-personnel profile, and so I can't do any damage to the Titan. And I'm assuming that also includes his void shields. Now I needed a -1 to hit, or I needed a 4+, but a -1 takes it to 5+. So all those miss, but because that formation is broken, denoted by those green dice, each blast marker that gets inflicted kills a base. So it killed that base. The Thunderbolt fighters activate with ground attack command from the Imperial Navy, and they're going in after the broken formation of Skitarii as well. Their approach move did put them in range of the Imperator Titan's anti-air gun, and they knew it, so they had to get close to use all their weapons, or at least as much as they could. Now the Titan gets to shoot right now before the Thunderbolts get to fire, and the Titan missed with a 1. He needed a 4-up on his macro weapon defense lasers. The Thunderbolts fire storm bolters and I think heavy bolters into the broken formation of Skitarii, and 2 tank underslung Hellfire rockets at the Imperator, hitting it twice, giving the Imperator a blast marker, and those 2 blast markers there are to denote that I took off 2 void shields. And you can see that the void shield die is now 1, and those Thunderbolt fighters, like Luke Skywalker, flew through his legs and are on their departure move. Risking again. Now I did remember this only activates on a 1 this time, so this Thunderhawk's coming in with a ground attack. All they needed was a 1, and he's going to risk it as well to go after the Skitarii demisentry on the right flank. Now that Titan's anti-air laser defense system is a macro weapon. It hit him, but fortunately, because the Thunderhawk's so badass and has reinforced armor, it does get a save against the macro weapon and makes it on a 5 and is able to do its ground attack against that Skitarii demisentry. He had a -1 to hit, and the blue dice denotes a battle cannon that hit. They do have 6 blast markers but have 7 bases, so they are nearly broken but not quite. The Thunderhawk makes a 45-degree turn and does its departure move. The last unit to activate is the tactical formation in the construction zone, and they took a march move and they embarked, and those are all embarked tactical marines, untouched, and they are hiding. They're doing this just in case they need to go grab an objective at the end of the 3rd turn, and hopefully the turn will end at the end of 3, because I don't think the Space Marines will be able to handle turn 4. Now we move on to the end phase, where we test to see if groups that have been broken become unbroken, and to remove blast markers or potentially void shields from units, and I'll go through that. So the broken Devastators with the 2 Razorbacks had a -2 because they were broken. They would normally regroup on a 1 or higher, so they needed a 3 or higher. They rolled a 5. they would receive 2 blast markers, then remove half, so they only have 1 blast marker now. Next is the remnants of the Amazon workers. They had a -2, so they would also need a 3 to become unbroken, and unfortunately they are still broken. The Skitarii had a -2, so that would take them to a 4 or higher, and they remained broken. The Imperator passed its test, and it's going to retain the blast marker, but gain 1 of its void shields back. Next, the Predators passed their initiative test, needing 2s, and they removed 2 blast markers. The Terminators test, they passed with a 6 and removed 1 blast marker. Next, the Warhounds test, and instead of bring their void shields back, they opted to remove 2 blast markers. Okay, here we are at the end of turn 2. You can see those Predators in the upper left-hand corner on the left flank completely behind the Imperator Titan, and the Imperator, facing downrange, trying to get as big a field of fire as he can with that forward-facing 90-degree arc. And then there's the 2 or 3 stands of Skitarii that are trying to take cover but are still broken, denoted by those green dice. Then you can see the Reaver facing due east, trying to take out as much as he can. His macro weapon is going to be at full effect, and of course he'll probably be targeting those Land Raiders and the Terminators, which are just on the bottom left quadrant there. The Warhounds at the bottom, they've kind of held down the Blitzkrieg objective, the home objective of the Ultramarines. And the further right, you can see the Whirlwinds still haven't moved, and they're just trying to take out as many of the infantry as they can, especially that Skitarii in the building on the Titan Legion side of the board. The Predators in the backfield are still holding that Blitzkrieg objective, but who knows for how long. The small unit that's broken of the tactical squad, hopefully they'll rally, but if the Predators get taken out, the other unbroken unit of tactical Marines will rush forward into that Blitzkrieg objective. Well, I hope you guys are enjoying that. I think that the Marines aren't doing as bad as I had originally thought. They're doing better. I thought that this was going to be a bad turn, but because all those macro weapons from the Titans, they're slow firing, and I was able to start to exploit I read a little bit more about the firing angles and firing arcs, so I was able to exploit a little bit of that with the Ultramarines. Losing the strategy roll right out of the barrel, though, was a little disheartening, because I think I could have maybe saved one other unit from becoming broken, but that's can't change the past. All right, on to turn 3. Turn 3, the Marines won the roll-off, not surprisingly, 9-7. So the Marines will activate first. The Marines are going to activate their Thunderbolt fighters first with a ground attack versus the cowering Hypaspists. Now, there's a couple things I didn't realize until this turn. I think when the AA shoots at the Thunderbolts should get a blast marker, and since they don't have and they shall know no fear, one of them should be suppressed, because they're being targeted. But nevertheless, they missed. I forgot to suppress them with a blast marker, and so they continued on their ground attack. Their multi-lasers and Stormbolters need 5s and 6s respectively to hit the Hypaspis that are actually in cover because they're touching the Imperator, and their anti-tank rockets went in one hit and took off a void shield. Because the Hypaspis were already broken when they received the blast marker, they also lost a base, and they are still broken, and here's the departure move for the Thunderbolts. The Titan Legions activated next with a sustained fire order successfully with their Warhounds, and they're going to fire multi-lasers and then the 2+ macro weapons into the Land Raiders and Terminator. They had to shoot the anti-personnel into the Terminators, and that's where all those red dice are at, and got only one hit. No, one hit that didn't save, and the Terminator stand saved all those others.
Then the orange dice are macro weapons, and the Land Raider there on the left ended up making the save. The Land Raider on the right did not, so that adds 2 blast markers to this formation, thus breaking the formation, but the Land Raider was over 15 centimeters away and really didn't want to leave that area of cover, so it stayed put. The Marines next activated their Thunderhawk with a ground attack to attack those other infantry in the center of the board that were in cover, and then put some shots into the Imperator. But this time the Imperator was able to hit the Thunderhawk, and it had a Titan killer profile in the anti-aircraft gun, rolled a 3, and the war engine of the Thunderhawk only has a damage capacity of 2, and ended up blowing it out of the sky. The Ultramarines opted to retain initiative, and so the Whirlwinds were going to use a sustained fire and fire indirectly at that same target, trying to get revenge. And they ended up hitting 5 times. That's the template there, and would have hit them all. And I think there's 8 there. Of course, they'll get a blast marker because they're coming under fire. They hit 5 times, missed with 4, and one of the stands was able to save. Obviously, that's a lot of blast markers there, and that ended up breaking the hypaspis. Now, there's no rule about broken formations having to go a certain direction. They just need to be away 15 centimeters away to avoid destruction. So the hypaspis actually advanced towards the objective, but unfortunately, because they're broken at this turn, and this is the end of turn, well, the end of turn 3 would be coming up, they would not be able to control that objective. Now the Titan Legions aren't going to take this line down, and they activated the Reaver. Well, I guess that's really about all they have left, except for the Imperator. The Reaver is going to advance and kind of make its way in between and fire half its weapons at that Land Raider, hitting once, adding a blast marker to a broken formation will unfortunately spell the end for that entire formation, and that gets a entire victory point for the Titan Legions by destroying the most expensive unit. The other half of the Reaver's shots went into the Whirlwinds, firing 6 shots, hitting 3 times, and 2 Whirlwinds failed their 5-up saves. That'll end up suppressing one of those Whirlwinds because of "and they shall know no fear," but still not broken. The Titan Legions retained initiative, needing a 1-up -1. Actually, I think that should have been a -2. They would activate on a 1-up, and so they would need a 3-up, but they made it, and they are going to advance to end up controlling 2 different objectives simultaneously and bring those predators under fire. First, they'll let loose with their 4 shots from the battle cannon, and of course the predators will receive a blast marker. They hit twice, missed twice. Then their defense lasers with the macro weapon 2, and although it fired the AA, it can still fire. The macro weapon hit once, denoted by the orange dice, and then it's going to let loose with its one of its barrage weapons. Gets 3 shots and misses with all 3. The Predators do a pretty good job saving 2 of those shots. No save is allowed on the macro weapon because they do not have reinforced armor, adding 2 blast markers and thus suppressing 1. The Titan's last weapon, that Hellstorm cannon with 10 barrage points, is going to fire into the far Predators. They get an extra barrage template, but it doesn't matter because there's only 2 there. Ended up rolling 2 dice, hitting with both, and the Predators unfortunately failed both and destroying the formation was destroyed. Since the Titan Legions are now out of activation, so the Space Marines can pretty much move freely, and they're going to activate with a Marshal. It says March, but a Marshal, and would be able to remove 6 of those blast markers, but only needs to remove the 2. And now they are hiding and dug in and out of view of the Imperator Titan, and also contesting that objective. Next to activate were the very sneaky Razorbacks that were hijacked from the Word Bearers. They are going to take a march movement, oddly enough, and they are going to come out of hiding. They'd have a -1 because of the blast marker, and so they get to move 30 centimeters 3 times. They've moved the first 30. That's the second 30 that I'm measuring there. Those are two rulers, each 15 centimeters. That's the second 30, and we are going to try to sneak into our own blitzkrieg objective because of poor positioning by the Titan legions. Now they have to stay 5 centimeters away from the nearest out of that zone of control, but they are within 15 centimeters of the blitzkrieg objective and therefore contest their own blitzkrieg objective. Wow. It was a great play. I saw it just by luck. But this one play pretty much saves turn three because if they would have lost this objective, they would have definitely lost. Because of what looks like a heroic sacrifice from the Razorbacks, the tactical squad that's completely intact just executed a hold action on a 1 plus, and they're going to stay in hiding. And remember, those Marines are all embarked. Moving into the end phase, this broken unit of Marines, last of the tactical formation, has a -2 because it's broken, needed a 3 or higher to remain unbroken. They failed, so they're still broken. The Whirlwinds just needed a 1 to remove half the blast markers. They did so and were able to remove. The heroic Razorbacks that are contesting their own Blitzkrieg objective were able to remove their only blast marker with a -1. They needed a 2 or higher. While I was down here on this end of the board, I opted to go ahead and do the Warhounds. They had a -1. They passed, and instead of removing blast markers, they opted to regain the Void Shields. And now, these Imperial Void Shields, I didn't realize this till later, or till about halfway through this game. They regenerate 1 Void Shield per turn regardless. And then you can either remove blast markers or void shields, or remove blast markers or add void shields based on your initiative roll. The Hypaspis that were broken and withdrew towards that objective, they needed I believe, a 4 or 5 or higher. Regardless, they ended up passing, and they became unbroken and would receive 3 blast markers, then remove half, so they have 1 blast marker on them now. The Hypaspis near the Imperator had a -3, -2 because they're broken, and then an additional -1 because of the Predators that are just out of the camera to the right. They're within 30 centimeters, and they ended up failing their test, and they are still broken. The Imperator failed its test to take off that blast marker, but because it's a Supreme Leader, it got to re-roll it and then passed, just needing a 2 or higher. Opted not to remove a blast marker, but instead to gain 1 shield instead of removing that blast marker, and then it also got an additional shield at the end of the turn because it's Imperial Void. All right, end of turn 3. The first place I like to direct your attention, because now we're scoring, right? Because it's the end of turn 3, so we start to look at scoring. The first place I'd like to have you look is this Reaver. The Reaver was poorly played, although I was able to put blast markers on the Whirlwinds to the right and destroy that Land Raider to the left. He was 15 centimeters, greater than 15 centimeters away from that center objective, and so the center objective is not contested. Oh, such a bummer. That's just my lack of experience right there. Now the Hypaspis right here in this building, they did rally, but they were broken at the start of the end phase, so they cannot control that objective. And so as a result, that objective is uncontested. The easiest one to control is uncontested. Now, because the Imperator Titan wasn't able to take out those Predators and they're still unbroken, they are actually contesting that objective right behind the Imperator Titan. But that Titan has that Titan is uncontested on this near center objective on the Marines half of the table. On this far right objective, the tactical squad still hiding behind the mountain does control that objective. There's a broken tactical squad or formation right behind it that's not lending any help. And the Blitzkrieg objective in the Titan Legion's backfield, the Predators that were shot off of that, And so that is now uncontested. And remember that tactical squad opted not to move because of the best play in the game. Those brave, treacherous bastards that moved in those las cannon Razorbacks to contest that blitzkrieg objective again because of poor positioning by the Titan Legion's warhounds. They could have blocked them out but didn't, and they are able to contest their own blitzkrieg objective. And so the final scoring for the end of turn 3 is as follows. Neither player received they shall not pass because neither has non-unbroken enemy formations on their own table halves. Neither player has the blitzkrieg objectives, controlling their home objectives, or controlling the other person. Neither has defend the flag, and neither has taken hold, control any two objectives, just because that malpositioned Reaver. But unfortunately for the Ultramarines, the Titan Legions did kill that Terminator unit with the Land Raider, so they achieved Break Their Spirit, and thus at the end of turn 3, the score is 1-0. But recall that you have to have 2 of those 5 goals to win, or more than your opponent. Sorry, and more than your opponent. So 2 of those 5 goals and more of your opponent. But unfortunately, the Titan Legions only have 1 due to my terrible plays and brilliant plays simultaneously. Moving on to turn 4, the Ultramarines won with 8-7, barely winning this one. The Marines are going to activate their Thunderbolt fighters first with a ground attack order, and they were, of course, successful, needing only a 2-up if they're actually Imperial Navy. The Titan fired its anti-aircraft weapons and missed. Again, I think they should get a blast marker for that, but I'm not sure. Surely they should. Anyway, they fired their heavy bolters and their storm bolters into that group of Hypaspis, adding some blast markers to the unbroken formation and breaking them again. Here they are in their departure move. Oh, I should also mention their underwing rockets were firing at the Imperator and missed. And those sneaky Hypaspis, even though they are broken, they're going to move a little further away over to this other building and still try to remain within 15 centimeters. And they are still broken, and that objective is still uncontested and uncontrolled. The Razorbacks ended up taking a first fire to get their licks in before they surely die. They were able to pass. They needed a 2 or higher, and they put some blast markers on the Warhounds and taking down their void shields. Initiative passed the Titan Legions, and the Reaver took an advance order so it could get into range of that center objective with just a little bit of movement and bring some fire on those dastardly whirlwinds with its Gatling blaster, shooting 6 times, hitting 3 times, and those whirlwinds ended up failing and ended up annihilating that whirlwind unit. The Imperator Titan activated next with an advance order, and it was not going to take any chances. It turned around and faced those cowering predators and fired everything at it. 4 battle cannons, only 1 hit with a -1. Defense lasers needing 3 or higher as macro weapons. Shooting next with the defense laser, rolled a 1, and even though it's a macro weapon, man, that would have annihilated a tank, but that missed. Next is its big barrage weapon with 10 barrage points. Although it would get 2 templates, only 1 can fit on there, so it rolled 3 dice and hit 2 out of the 3 times, needing 5s or higher from the barrage table. Finally, the Quake Cannon with 3 barrage points only gets to lay a single template again, and so again would roll 3 more dice, this time needing 6s, and these are macro weapons, so no saves allowed against these. It would have been a 5, but a -1 because they're in cover, and a failed save that would have been broken anyway means that this formation of predators is annihilated, and that particular objective is no longer contested. With that, the initiative passed to the Ultramarines, and they felt pretty confident that they could take the Blitzkrieg, and so they took march and went out of cover and deployed next to the Titan Legion's Blitzkrieg objective to control that. Unfortunately, the objective that they left had only a broken formation of tactical Marines there, and so now that particular objective is uncontested. I'm sorry, is uncontrolled. Initiative passes to the Titan Legions, and adding to the drama, they took an engage because they have a blast marker. They have a -1. They rolled a 1, so they have to take a hold action. Now that extra blast marker suppresses one whole Warhound, so now the Warhound has 3 blast markers with 3 structure points, and that whole Warhound can't shoot, so only one of the Warhounds gets to shoot. They opted not to move and are just going to, they were going to engage, charge at these guys, which would have surely killed them, but now have to shoot. And they don't have macro weapons because they're slow firing and reloading this turn. So all that one Warhound has is a single gun. It hit only once, and this could have meant the turn goes to yet another turn 5, but that Razorback failed to save, no rerolls, and ends up destroying it and breaks that unit and is forced to withdraw, thus leaving those Warhounds in control of the Blitzkrieg objective, even though they are suppressed. Now we are in the end step, and we have to see which of these broken formations end up able to regroup. The Razorback was able to regroup. The Marines were not able to regroup. Oh no, they did regroup. No, they did not regroup. They did regroup, and they received a blast marker. The Hypaspes were unable to regroup. They are still broken. The single secutor was able to regroup, has no blast markers near the big guy. The big guy again failed his initiative test, but because he's a supreme commander, was able to reroll that to a 6 and ended up adding void shields and keeping the blast marker. And his macro weapon's still reloading, as are the Wolfhounds, the Warhounds. They passed, and they opted to get rid of some of those blast markers because they got a little pesky last time. Now, scoring at the end of turn 4, we'll start with the Ultramarines. They were able to hold that Blitzkrieg objective, but they were unable to score take and hold because they didn't control 2 objectives on the opponent's table halves, neither here, where the tactical formation lies, even though it's not broken. It was broken at the beginning of the end phase, and so it can't control that objective, and therefore that objective is uncontrolled and uncontested. And because the Predator formation was completely destroyed, that's the other objective they could have controlled for take and hold, but that is now controlled by the Imperator Titan, as is the one just slightly on the Ultramarine side of the board here. So that Imperator now controls 2 objectives by itself. The Reaver controls the center objective here, and with those 2 objectives plus the Blitzkrieg, that gives them Blitzkrieg, break their spirit, and take and hold. Neither side scored they shall not pass. Easily MVP of the game was that lone Razorback borrowed from the Word Bearers. Oh man, those guys were so brave. They'll go down. Maybe they'll rescue the Word Bearers' reputation. Overall, fantastic game. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in to another Sacred Mountain Battle Report. I really like this game. NetEA Armageddon, fan-made rule set, and because it's alternating activation, you can solo it, for those people who are lonely and rural and have 3D printers. This is a great game to really scratch that 40K itch and not have to deal with Games Workshop's BS. I love this game. Thanks for tuning in if you were able to watch the whole thing, and stay tuned for another Sacred Mountain Battle Report.